Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Ifeni. Great Malabite, good morning.
Good morning, Ruben.
Morning.
Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
You guys are not smiling. Is it because of the increase in petrol price?
Have you bought
I'm
food?
smiling. Nigeria will be better.
Well, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. Well, let's just start with what concerns us. This time, those of us in the newspaper business, challenged by bleak future, newspaper owners, stakeholders deliberate on ways forward. Yes, these are indeed challenging times for newspaper owners and production of newspapers generally. Of course, apart from the challenge of electronic media, newspapers are facing hard times in terms of input into the production process, newsprint, ink, all coming from outside the country. Of course, the exchange rates there to determine that these prices are bound to go up. But when you talk about diesel, you cannot run a newspaper house without powering your own private plant. And all these are challenging environment. And Newspapers Association of Nigeria gathered yesterday to take a look and see how they can get help from stakeholders, including government, in this business that employs a lot of Nigerians. Now, the lead story: fuel price, Labour threatens to pull out of talks with federal government. Liter now 617 naira. Carry attributes hike to market forces. NLC accuses government of insensitivity, says no transparency in disbursement of palliative. NMPC Group CEO says no shortfall in product supply. NMDPR blames rising crude prices, freight costs. NECA kicks, urges federal government not to kill those he's trying to save. Yes, we all heard this news yesterday, and it's real. At the filling stations across the country, in the north is higher. In Lagos here, despite efforts of many to see if they can buy the fuel before the pump price is changed at the filling stations. Clearly, 588 naira per liter at NMPC filling stations, and of course, higher up there, 600 and above in many filling stations in Nigeria. Now, the reason for this is self-explanatory. Welcome to the era of deregulation and market forces. And despite the fact that we were told that more importers will be given licenses, more marketers will be given import licenses to bring in fuel products, and that in itself will create competition and prices may just crash. But the other side of market forces taking its toll. Of course, the price of Brent crude went up to $82.74 per barrel, up from $74.75 per barrel this week. So what should Nigerians be praying for? Price of crude to go up so that we can make more money, make foreign exchange, or pray that it should come down so that we can get cheap fuel? Well, a country that did not plan well will suffer this kind of situation because if only our refineries were working, we won't be taking our crude out to be refined and brought back into this country for us to consume. That is the position we find ourselves now. And of course, bringing in this crude, this fuel, PMS, that is, in this case, of course, the exchange rates. NMPC used to be the sole importer, and they were importing at the rate of 460 naira to the dollar then. And now the windows have been merged. Harmonization, you call it, or floating of the naira. Use whatever term you like. The naira is now over 800 naira to the dollar. And of course, that explains the situation we find ourselves. Now, the Vanguard newspaper reporting this story, anger as petrol hits 568 naira to per litre in Lagos, 617 in Abuja. Others. Business Day newspaper reporting this story, tougher times as petrol sells for over 600 naira per litre. Slow CNG. Yes, slow CNG project worsens Nigerians' suffering. Punch newspaper, Nigerian Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress lambasts Tinubu as fuel hits 630 naira per litre. Sean negotiation, Labour kicks again against 8,000 naira palliative. Says Tinubu deviated from making Nigeria better. NMPCL defends new pump price. Filling stations short. Queues resurface in Abuja, Lagos. While the leadership newspaper, Labour CSOs kick as NMPCL blames market forces for increase. Daily Trust newspaper, petrol at 617 naira per litre. Federal government on path to dictatorship will resort to self-help. NLC. Commuters grown as commercial drivers hike fares. Market forces responsible, NMPCL. And increase minimum wage to 100,000 naira. Civil society are appealing. Tinubu orders review of 8,000 naira palliative. Now, the Nation newspaper, Tinubu orders release of grains to 50 million farmers. Orders. President directs review of 8,000 naira cash transfer to poor households. Apparently, of course, those aides of the president would decide not to include removal of fuel subsidy in his inauguration speech. Perhaps they know what they were doing. Some time needed to plan, at least to deal with the outcome of removal of subsidy. That not done. Now what we get every day is one announcement or the other, grabbing the headlines, but no palliative reaching poor Nigerians. And well, while you enjoy the limelight of headlines, 500,000 hectares of land to be farmed by Nigerians, where is the plan towards that effect? How are you going to go about it? None. Now, let's look at the foreign newspapers quickly. Revealed soaring toll of 28,000 convictions for COVID breaches. Yes, 28,000 persons have been convicted for COVID offense in England and Wales. And of course, many of those offenses include those who attended gatherings during lockdowns or arriving at airports without the proper COVID-19 testing. But the government said they were not going to criminalize offenses of during the COVID lockdowns. Of course, that's why a former prime minister had to be disgraced out of office because he too broke the rules then. Now, the Washington Post, Department of Justice tells Trump is a target in 2020 vote inquiry. Of course, former President Donald Trump said on Tuesday morning that he received a letter from the Justice Department informing him that he's a target of the long-running investigation. Of course, the target letter is coming at a time, well, yes, a possible indictment of Donald Trump, which will ensnare his presidential bid ahead of the 2020 polls. Ruben Rufai Ayo, if you have time.
A couple of things. So, like I said before, on the local scene, now we are here. What do? At some point, and I repeat, I've said this for the upton time, there is no government that doesn't make intervention as regards energy issues in Nigeria. I mean, in the world. So at some point, the government will make interventions as regards this problem. We don't know how far-reaching it will be, but they will have to. Because you can't keep up increasing the inflation rate, the hardship rate, the misery index that Dr. Abati talked about. If they are to have happiness index, I'm sure Nigeria will rank very low as we speak today.
You mean we are no longer the happiest people in the world?
We can't be.
That's our title.
With all of this, we've lost it a long time ago. We can't be happy. You see, Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians now are like George Floyd. They are struggling to breathe. The hardship is so much. We can't be happy. And I want that happiness to come back to Nigerians. And that's why our leaders must listen to us. And it's not just coming out to release statements and say, we will review 8,000 naira. I find that message very colloquial, very nebulous. What are you saying? What are you saying? Review what? Is it upward or backward? Review by how much? It's like a colloquial solution. So what is he saying? What was the thrust of that? Because you see, if people just come out and write all sorts and we look at them and what are you saying? Review what? Is this a statement of intent to review? At least you must have a parameter to review based on what? Are you increasing the number? I think they should have reviewed anything they want to review before they bring out the statement. Also, Daily Trust ran a story about insurgent activities now preventing farmers from farming.
Yeah.
We need to fix that problem. Because when you check through what is causing food inflation, it's because farmers can't bring their food out. And we will not forget how farmers were killed in Zabamari. And you remember what the presidential spokesperson said then. Said because they didn't take permission from the military before they went to farm. We can't forget these things.
Not permission. They didn't inform the military that they were going to farm.
They didn't inform the military. So now farmers now have to inform military. So please.
So that they can be protected.
We need to, as much as possible, fix the insecurity in the country around the farms. That's number 2. Number 3, we would also like to beg them, be transparent with Nigeria. Rotus raised a very important point, which I saw a lot of reasons with. NNPC is still hedging. Because you see, NNPC now have gone into the business of importation. And there's no how, out of even, despite the license given to other marketers.
56.
NNPC will still be the largest importer.
56 marketers.
Yes, and we all know how they used to do before. They import lightly and put it in tank farm of other people. So, NNPC should tell us what is going on, because these are the things Nigerians complain about. Furthermore, the president must be able to, delegate on a transparent forensic inquiry into how NNPC, these crude swap deals, these subsidy deals have been run in a while. Please, we need that because Nigerians they need to be able to know the truth.
Yeah.
All right? So the truth has to be said. These are the things we are putting out there. We want this country to work. It's also an opportunity for us to be able to grow. It's also an opportunity to be able to deepen CNG gas. By now, the president should also think of giving car-making companies like Innoson and Nord subvention to be able to make more CNG cars so that we can have an energy mix in the country. This phase we are passing through should be something to be able to help us grow as a country. If Nigeria comes out of it and we think right, we should be a very highly industrialized nation in Africa. But you see, problems come because they need solution. But we should think of the solutions, and those that are supposed to provide the solution must do it dispassionately.
Yes. Well, the concern, Mr. Feni, and the worry for a number of Nigerians is this sets a sort of precedent. Is this how economic policies, policies of this particular administration would be made without a thorough evaluation, thought, research, information, and that's the concern for a number of people. Because what has been said, first of all, with the fuel subsidy removal was that it was clearly not properly planned through. And so what then happens with that kind of situation is that the people suffer. And if this continues in this administration, remember that President Bola Tinubu has been on this journey for a very long time. And he's been having meetings, talking about, working as part of a team. It seemed like he had his men, sorted out. But on inauguration, it's clear that perhaps they didn't even have a plan with regards to subsidy removal, and then a plan for the people in terms of palliatives, despite the various announcements. And that's why Mr. Dele Alake's announcement looks incomplete or seems incomplete. Just another announcement saying we're going back to the drawing table, we're going to make a plan when Nigerians want concrete information in terms of the hows. And during campaign, I mustn't forget, that's one of the things we kept emphasizing here when they made promises. It's not about saying we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
We are still hearing
how,
we are going to. We are going to.
How is this going to happen? We've moved beyond we're going to how. Talking about that, today he said that the Senate President would announce the ministerial list of the President 50 days afterwards. And that is a time too long. We thought he would hit the ground running with his appointment, with his policies, with information, with changes, key changes. And even though we've celebrated, okay, we're floating the Naira, we've deregulated fuel, it's the effect of it is not being felt because Nigerians are poor, unfortunately, today. And then just to highlight another story from The Guardian, I'm not sure we've talked about it, with regards to the Abia state government identifying 2,300 council ghost workers and saying that they're saving 200 million naira monthly. This is from the governor, Mr. Alex Oti. And whilst this must be praised in terms of... Okay,
which state did you say?
Abia State.
Okay.
Whilst this must be praised, we must also ask, beyond just saying, no, we're going to save this amount of money, can we investigate? Because the monies that were paid in terms of salary to these 2,300 ghost workers can be traced. Can we find out who these monies were going, who were being paid, and can they be prosecuted?
That should be the next step.
Yeah, that's the next step.
Okay,
Dr. Bati.
A number of issues about fuel price hike and all of that. Yes, we've lamented enough this morning, but is there any silver lining in part of it? I think one positive thing that you can extract from what is going on is the decision to break the oligopoly of the NNPC, with the decision to give out 56 licenses to marketers who can also now import. Previously, everyone had complained, oh, the reason NNPC is so dominant and NNPC can dictate is because of the oligopolistic system that existed in terms of the importation of petrol. But these other marketers that Mr. Farouk Ahmed was talking about, well, would there be level playing field for them now that everybody has to go to the I&E window? And do they have the capacity to be able to make a difference? Which then takes us to the point by organized labor, that why don't you get the refineries working? So that we are not talking about the floating of the Naira, which seems to have created so much problems, because you have to buy from the international market at prevailing price. So this is the market forces that people are talking about. We are at the mercy of market forces now, the triumph of neoliberal economics, okay? So one of the things organized labor is also talking about with regard to palliatives is that the committees that the president said he was going to set up and promised to set up, why is it that weeks after, those committees have not been set up? And organized labor raises a point that it looks like, government is just introducing all kinds of measures while ignoring organized labor. If we have industrial action added to the misery that we are already going through, it will be a very difficult situation indeed. In Europe, for me, the biggest issue will probably be the effect of climate change. In Greece, in Switzerland, in Italy, in Sweden,
in America,
there have been reports about very high temperatures, in excess of 40 degrees centigrade. If you convert that to Fahrenheit, that's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So people can, in fact, fry chicken by just putting out a bowl of, chicken out there with groundnut oil, and the heat is so much that it will be fried.
Or roast plantain.
Yeah, but it's not about chicken or plantain. It's about the effect on individuals.
On human beings.
And what we've been reminded of is how climate change remains a major problem in our world. John Kerry, the U.S. ambassador on climate change, just visited China, the third official to go to China in less than a year. Anthony Blinken, Janet Yellen, and now John Kerry. And John Kerry is saying, it's likely President Biden and Xi Jinping, the president of China, will meet maybe in November when there is the Asian American Conference on Development. But it's not about China and America. The challenge of climate change affects all of us. And I guess here in Nigeria also, we're beginning to feel the impact in terms of flooding, which is why the international community, has an obligation to take climate change far more seriously than they have done. Finally, I read a story, Quds Bank, saying that Nigel Farage can no longer bank with them because he's xenophobic, he's racist, and that his values do not align with them. We didn't have enough time with Reuters to bring this up. So I found that quite intriguing. I hope we don't get to a point here in Nigeria where people will say because you express a particular view on television, then your account in their bank has been closed. Why are banks mixing, politics with business? And I know they say know your customer. Before the Central Bank of Nigeria begins to imitate, some of these banks in England and say, well, this person expressed this view on television, close his bank account, because that's the extent, that's the reductio ad absurdum, if we stretch what the Quds Bank has done to Nigel Farage.
Ruben, please just put up the Daily Trust newspaper there, the Daily Trust newspaper, just to support the point Ayo raised. Farmers flee Borno villages as Boko Haram killings return. Military chiefs, that is for you. The president, farmers not able to go to their farms. I thought we should just highlight that there because it's also at the heart of the problem.
But Governor Zulum bought about 50 luxury buses.
Yes, to take the farmers.
And also to hire some 30 trucks. And then in collaboration with the security, Nigerian soldiers. And on that occasion, he told them that, look, farmers, cooperate with the soldiers.
Yes.
Because we want you to go to the farm.
That's why I'm drawing the attention of the military chiefs.
Is it that the matter...
Farmers flee Borno villages as Boko Haram killings return. That's Daily Trust to this newspaper.
And that is sad. And that's also going to increase, the problem we're having with
It's not
food.
Peculiar to Borno.
It's not peculiar. Oh, look, I'll give you a story of mango. So I did an extensive research. And I had an on-the-ground assessment through someone that was there in Mango. Do you know that Mango local government area where people were killed is the second in terms of, what's it called, production, Irish potato production, after Bokos in Plateau State. And now the farmers can't plant and all of that. They're already envisaging an increase in the price of Irish potatoes and also price of tomatoes and some other things they plant around there, just because of that incident in Manga local government area alone. And other parts that have been affected in Jos. And those are the production real zones in Nigeria. So we must do something as regards this. This
really
is
sad because
this is
Borno
sad.
State was one of their success stories in terms of how much work they've done in being able to contain the terrorist attacks in Borno State. So if this is returning, then like you mentioned, it's a call to the service chiefs. We haven't heard. I know obviously I want to believe that they are working in silence and just strategizing and getting into position. But this headline is one for them to take attention. We can't be dealing with multiple issues. If we're looking at the economy, looking at poverty, then security is a big deal as well in terms of the president's promises. He has a myriad of issues to sort out and they need to get to work quickly. Absolutely. So hopefully we'll get some response from the service chiefs.
Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel Efeni. This your segment has gone on almost for too long. Thank you very much.
Are you driving me?
We'll see you tomorrow.